Hi, everybody. You've made it to Module 6. This is the big module where you will be finally submitting a rough draft of your community project. So if you want to take a walkthrough with me on Module 6, you can click on the Modules button and head on over to Module 6 by scrolling down in that section until you get there. And if just a kind of overview of Module 6, you'll see some readings and activities that you'll be completing first on drafting, revision, editing techniques, and revising, because we're going to be spending the remainder of the class after you turn in the rough draft revising your work. And then if you scroll just a little further down in Module 6, you'll notice that there is a reading quiz. There's a spot to turn in your draft. Notice that you'll also be posting your draft for peer observation. This peer observation is not the same maybe as what you've done in prior classes. You're going to be making some comments to me in your reflections of what the peer observations are, but you will not be posting the peer observation to your classmates. So you're not actually giving them peer feedback. You're just making some comments about the different features in this assignment that go along with observing your peers' work. You might be able to see, some places that your peer did well and you'd like to maybe emulate that style or technique or some of the strategies that you used, or perhaps you weren't as captivated by some of the things that they did and you don't want to work that into your own draft. So it's kind of an opportunity for you to compare and contrast where you think you are, what you think is working successfully by looking at other peers' drafts. And then, of course, at the end of the module, you will be marking your progress. So let's go back and walk through a little bit of this module in more detail. Go ahead and click on the Module 6 overview, and that will give you the down and dirty information for what we'll be doing in this module. And you will prepare a complete rough draft, not a partial rough draft, but a complete rough draft of your Writing for Community Change project. So you're going to be using all of your prior information and invention work in order to put this draft together. So the bulk of this module is focused on drafting, revision, and editing. So you will be spending maybe more time in this module than any of the other modules that we've had so far. And as you can see in the overview and purpose section, you'll also be completing that peer observation I referred to. And then you'll be planning your personal revision goals for the remainder of the project, what you feel like you want to work on. So really the goal of the assignment is to observe your peer drafts. And as I stated, you're not going to be giving them direct feedback. And you can look for further details on that assignment in the peer observation and revision goals section. So some things to pay particular attention to while you're putting together your draft is that it needs to be a letter or memo. I know I've mentioned this several times, but still some students write it more like a traditional essay because I realize that this is very different, and so people get confused. You definitely want to have a regular memo or letter, header, and footer in this project. You're going to be drafting with specific audience awareness. I've talked about that in some of my prior videos and in my feedback to you, that you need to target one specific audience. It's too much to try to target an entire community of people, as well as counsel men or women that might make the change. And different businesses, like there's too much going on there. So really target your audience on one specific either person or a group of people, and then you're going to use language tailored toward that group of people. So if it's more informal, like you were writing to improve, let's say there was a gaming establishment in your local community that you like to go and play Dungeon and Dragon games or other kind of role-playing games, and you felt like they should do some things, better. And so you would write to the owner of that store, and your language is going to be different if that, is the case than if you were to be writing on something about changing traffic patterns and you're going to be sending your memo or letter to a city councilman. So you're going to have more formal language for that. So make sure to pay attention to your audience and what kind of language you should use for that specific purpose. So you'll be thinking also about strengthening your arguments by presenting diverse views. You're going to be combining and including ideas that challenge or differ from your own perspective in order to create a more robust and persuasive argument. So we all sort of have confirmation bias, and we look for information that supports our own point of view. And this is your opportunity to research other points of view so that you can get a full view on all of the pieces of this project and the different viewpoints that are offered on the community change project. And some of them you'll agree with, some of you won't, but it's important to do this kind of an investigation and get as many perspectives as possible, and then consider their perspectives when you are writing your letter or memo and talking about solutions. And then you'll also be learning from your peers' writing by identifying some strengths and weaknesses in relation to their project's goals. And then you can make your own specific goals for revising and improving your draft. I will be giving feedback on your draft, so you can also look at my feedback as you move towards that final submission. Some other things that you're going to need to submit with this project are a self-assessment and your advocacy ads or PSA. So don't forget those pieces. So that's what we're going to be doing in Module 6. If you have any questions during the week, please feel free to reach out to me, and I would be happy to help you. Have a great week.